Yes, I will.
Teach man to fish.
Yes.
We'll call this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam President, I move that we approve the agenda.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The agenda has been approved. Presentation and approval of the minutes for May 18th, 2023, regular board meeting.
Madam President, I move to dispense with reading of the minutes and approve them as read.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the board minutes for May 18th, 2023. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The meeting minutes for May 18th have been approved. Limited public forum. The Board of Education welcomes public comments during the visitors portion of the school board meeting agenda. All comments must be related to a topic on the agenda for that particular meeting. The public comment section of the agenda will be the only time the board takes any questions or comments from the public unless we as a board choose to solicit more information from a person or group attending the meeting on matters specific to the agenda. All public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The board reserves the right to cancel the public comment portion of the board meeting when necessary or appropriate. Any person making public comments shall be solely responsible for the content of those comments, and the board reserves the right to refuse to hear comments that do not fall within these parameters established by the board. The Board of Education will not comment upon, endorse, sanction, or act upon any comments made during the limited public forum section of the board meeting, except to inform a member of the public that their time has concluded. Are there any public comments? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Manistas.
Madam President, members of the board, good evening. I'd like to start off my report by reporting that as of right now, we are fully staffed. And so we're gonna be able to start the school year with, on a positive note, took some, I guess some miracles from God to make it happen, but it happened, it always does, so we're there. We've also been working, with the administrative team to get, to update the student and faculty handbooks. I think we need to do a little bit more tweaking, Claudia and I can get that done, but for the most part, they're pretty much, done and updated. On May 23rd, 2023, I did attend, the REC meeting, Board of Directors in Raton. At that meeting, I was nominated and I was voted in as the Vice President for the REC. So, on June 5th through the 8th, myself and the 3 administrators, building administrators, attended the 2023 New Mexico Highlands University Problems of Practice Summer Summit in Las Vegas, New Mexico. So we, the 3 building administrators, they attended the MLSS strand, while I attended the strand that creating cultures of thinking and learning. I think we got some pretty valuable information that we can implement as we get the new school year started. So I thought it was a pretty good thing. I don't know if you want to add something to it, Mr. Montoya? Just nod.
It's very good.
The Nueva Vistas, I introduced that to you guys a while back. That is the new school portal that will replace like the grading system that they used to have, the A through whatever. It was A through F or whatever, and so then we get all our data and testing, graduation rates and all that good stuff. And then they're gonna go ahead and let us know where our schools stand. As of right now, based on the data that we got for 2021, 2022, we have one school that is considered at the highest level, is a spotlight school. It is at the top 75 percentile, that is Kaiser Elementary. And then the other 3 schools, we are a step below that, which is the traditional, which still means that we're on task and we're meeting everything we need to meet. We've met the benchmarks that have been set forth by the state. And then after that, which couldn't tell you what the rest of them are, but there's two other levels underneath that. That's where, schools fall in there. That's when there's gonna be additional, things that need to be done. They will get more funding for it, but of course, you are expected to jump through hoops to get that funding and so forth. So I'm happy to say, and I'm very proud of our schools and our school district, our school employees, our administrators, everybody that takes part into this for, doing a great job with that. I know that the new data comes out now in June for 2022, 2023. Understand that 2021, 2022 was right when we got out of COVID. So I'm very confident that if we did well there, we're gonna do even better because we have another year of in-person instruction with our kids, and I think that I'm pretty excited about where we're at. Now the goal is to work on the other three schools and maintain Kaiser so that we can hopefully be a spotlight district instead of just one school here or the other one. So I think it was a great deal. And I'm gonna jump because we also attended something, that's why we moved this board meeting back. On the 20th and 21st, Ms. Hyman, myself, and Mrs. Montoya, we attended an Inspired Regional Community Engagement Summit at the Hispanic Cultural Center in Albuquerque. And this summit was geared towards strategies on how to better engage the community, parents, and so forth. And like I've told you before, that is our goal for the coming year, is to make sure that we're reaching out to parents as much as we can. And so the cool thing about this summit is that a lot of the stuff that they talked about was something that we probably all already know, but it's always good to hear it from someone else to frame before you and tell you how you can do things better. And so I know that Mrs. Hyman and Mrs. Montoya came out, and myself, of course, came out with some good ideas on what we want to do in starting the new school year with a new attitude, with a new incentive to make sure that we reach out to make our parents partners in education. And so, Mrs. Montoya, is there anything else you want to add to it? Yes.
It was really neat. They talked about the kind of questions that you ask parents, you know, to try to get them involved, and then doing some of those interviews with your populations that you know that are underserved. So that's one of the things that we were really gonna work on. It was fun because you got to, so we thought we came up with a really good question, and our question was, what is keeping you from having those hard conversations with parents? You know, because teachers aren't always reaching out to parents. And so whenever I met with another person from Las Cruces district, she changed the question to maybe if we were proactive and the question was, what's a hard conversation you need to have and how can I support you with that? So before they ask the question, you know what I'm saying? So the teachers know that, hey, when you're gonna, you know, so it's just really neat to have a different person's perspective on it. So it was a really great training.
I would have to say it's probably the best one I've been to in 25 years of education.
Great, nice.
And the best part of it was free.
It was really
Awesome.
And they fed us really well.
Awesome. All wins.
There you go, win-win.
Well, and maybe that will help increase like PAC involvement too.
Right.
If people are, more invited.
Right.
Yeah.
Gardens more invited. I mean, I know it is, but
Happy
people don't
teachers,
know.
happy parents, happy kids.
That's right.
So that was, I think that was a highlight of, my summer. We were able to not just get all that great information, but we were able to network with different people. We got to meet the lady that actually approves the Title IV applications, and so her and Hesper know what they, live to each other, and she helped out Hesper right then and there to get the Title IV application done, because it was due that day that we were there, and so they were, on the sidebar, they were able to get that done and so forth. And then just really, talking to different people from different areas, not necessarily just all educators. There's community members out there. There was other organizations that actually can come in and do some presentations to not just our teachers, our staff, but they can do like a family forum and do some presentations for families to see what, support we can get families and so forth. So I think it was very, money very well spent. So I really enjoyed it. Tillery came out, and delivered our, brand new pickup on the 13th. They took, 4 of the Suburbans, they drove 3 and they had to put 1 on the trailer because it needs a transmission. And they're gonna allow us to go ahead and, use bus 41 till the end of the month when it expires. Then they will come out for that one and the other bus that's there, and that'll be all the trainings that we have. If you guys would like to, after we're done with the meeting, I take you over to the garage so you guys can check out the truck and so forth. We kind of like test drove it this 2 days to see how good and it's how parking it. I'll just tell you right now. I had to get my own trailer, my own parking area just to, so I could park it in the middle. So that's good. And then I had mentioned to, President Leal about, we no longer have a place to get our fingerprints done here in Clayton. There's a company that has taken over the contract for the state, and so they were trying to work with the city to get that done, and there are some issues there that couldn't get done because, I did go talk to Farron, and because I wanted to get an idea before I did anything, and, he explained there's some sections in there that kind of made the contract illegal because of the fact that they were, saying that we had to abide by Virginia law and so forth and so forth. But I talked to the guy from the company, and then, after I talked to Farron, I sent this agreement to our attorneys, and the attorneys said the same thing. There's three areas here that, let me see. 3 areas here that we cannot get into, because they're asking us for insurance. It says the insurance clause requires $1 million per occurrence insurance policy, workman's comp insurance pursuant to Virginia law. And then the issue here is that there will be a large expense for the district, as well as the Virginia law piece that is explained more in detail. So I talked to Michael again today about this, and he says, well, that's not, what we said, now he's telling me what he sent us was like a sample of an agreement, and he says, we will take that language out and we will put in there, you already have the insurance in there for like workman's comp and so forth. It's nothing additional that you would have to do. So what I told him, well, then I need you to show me that you changed the wording on it, and then I can take it back to the attorneys to make sure that we agree. And then, indemnification, there's a clause in there. It says New Mexico law warns governmental entities for entering in information, I said it wrong, laws with private companies, making this clause illegal for the district to agree or for it to be included in anything with the district. So I brought that up to him also, and he's gonna look into it. He's gonna send it to the people, because there's other districts that are already doing this. And so basically what I told him, well, you just need to do whatever you did with them to get it done, and so we're working on that. And then the governing law, which again, for whatever reason, they're trying to use the Commonwealth of Virginia. But he's telling me it's just a sample of an agreement that they have there. All that language will get turned over to the state of New Mexico. And so what I'm waiting on to see is if he gets all this squared away for us, then I would like very much to have all the equipment here at the Clayton School so that we could fingerprint our staff, but not just our staff, it would be anybody that needs a fingerprinting. We would set the times when they can come in and get fingerprinted. They can't just, as per se, walk in whenever they want. There's a portal where they'd have to go in and they would have to pick a slot when that's available to come fingerprinted. Takes about 5 minutes, and then for every person that does get fingerprinted, we would get $4 for it and so forth. It's no cost to us. They bring in the equipment, they set it up, they do everything. The only thing that would require is, one of us actually doing the fingerprinting, but now you don't do the ink, you just do the digital stuff. So I'm currently working with them. If for some reason we can't get it done, there's a good possibility that the sheriff department is gonna get it done, or the hospital. But like I said, it would be a really good convenience to have it here at the school district, and so I'll keep you guys informed on what direction we go. Like I said, I talked to him today, and he did share an email that he sent to his people on working on it, and that section there, how do you say that word? How do you say it, Claudia? Indemnification laws, he's looking at just getting it completely out of it, because that's what
Does
makes
that
it.
just mean like we wouldn't have that same business with anyone else, right?
Well, what it is, the thing is, regardless of what it's all about, a governmental agency can't have this clause in here. They have, now, if we were a private business, then it wouldn't be an issue, but we can't basically do that. And so, he's gotta get that language completely out of it.
They're just wanting to say that we would use them on.
Yes. Yes, and technically, we kinda have to,
Well, there's no other.
because they're the ones that won the contract from the state. So, but, like I said, I just think it would be a good idea to have it here at the school, but, I mean, if it's the hospital or the sheriff department, that's fine, I mean, it was the police department earlier, so. But there's,
The police department don't do it anymore.
well, for these same reasons, I honestly, I don't know, I talked to Fran about it, and these are the things that he threw out at us, and he said that they weren't willing to amend it. But when I talked to Michael today, he says, oh yeah, we'll do whatever it takes to get it done. So, I gotta wait and see what this Michael guy says, and then, we'll see where we go from there. Let's see. Imagination Library, I got a letter the other day on, I guess this is a program where, there's 102 kids in Union County, from ages, from birth to 5 that, they provide books for them. There's 102 of them, and we have, there's a charge of $2 per book and so forth. And when it first started, it's through the Dolly Parton Foundation, it's Dollywood, okay, and when it first started, I guess, what was it? What was that organization? I can't think, lost it. Anyway, but the last year it was the museum that was doing everything for them, because the museum they have gone through some turnover, they have said that they can't do it. So Main Street was the one that was doing it before, and then it was the museum. And so they reached out to me to see if we would be willing to be the ones to take it over so that we can continue getting these books. They get a book a month for these kids. Like I said, there's 102 of them. It'd be a cost about $214 that we would have to pay, but then the state reimburses us 80% of that. And for this first year, these guys are gonna pick up the cost for it. And so, I just wanted to inform you that I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with this. I think it's a great thing that our kids get books and that they can, get started reading and so forth. And I think it's a great program. And so, you say your granddaughter gets a book? Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah, okay, so I think it's a great program, and so I think that that's something that, as a school district, we probably need to get, keep going, so it doesn't die, and hopefully we can get more kids involved in it, and get as many books as we can out there.
Can't believe there's only one.
That's what she said in Union County, and that's the numbers that she gave me, so, but, I mean, that doesn't mean we can.
A lot of people don't probably know about it.
No, it's not taking by birth.
Birth year out of 5, that's what I meant.
So it's preschool, basically,
You would-
preschool,
I
pre-K.
can't believe that that's.
Probably don't know about it. Probably needs to be some.
So how do they find these people? How do they find these data?
Well, we are gonna have to be the ones to disseminate the information, registration, or whatever to whoever it is that.
So do you put like some information out there in the newspaper?
We would put a newspaper, Facebook, you can send it, like I send it to Des Moines,
Yeah.
and, let them know there, and let them disseminate it there, and then just see what we can do to get as many as we can.
Yes.
Maintenance projects that are going on, the weather's kind of been playing havoc on everything we're doing for the track. But they're moving right along, they're pouring cement, they just need one little slab that they need to finish with a high jump. And then they've already pulled all the asphalt, I think they need like maybe a quarter of it. And once they pull that out, they can, if weather permits, they can run the new asphalt and so forth. they were saying, and I talked to Jose, Barola today, he came by from AK Sales. Basically, he came by to inform me that he's no longer gonna be working with us, cause, he's taking a job with someone else, and so we're gonna have a new rep for AK Sales, and so, Jose was really good with us, but, you know, he needs to do what he needs to do for himself, and so, we went out and looked at the track, and they had told Tim that it was gonna take 30 days for the asphalt to like cure or whatever it is, but I don't think it's that, I think it's the cement. And I think that's why, and so Jose's gonna go back tomorrow and he's gonna check, he'll call me back, and he says that's why they started with the cement first, so that we can get it going, and so we'll sit for 30 days, and then we'll go around and we'll get everything going, so I'm kinda worried that it's gonna be a little, close to our first, home game, which is August 18th. And so we gotta get the kids in there to start practicing and so forth, so be ready for that game. And so, I'm gonna wait to see what Jose tells me tomorrow, to see, but he's pretty sure it's the cement that has to sit for 30 days before they do anything with it. If that's the case, it's no big deal, then they can start, once they take everything off and compact everything and so forth, they can get the asphalt going. As long as they get that going, we can get our kids on the.
That's putting it really.
Yeah.
Push
Well,
came to shove, they could use like the baseball field or something.
if anything, yeah, but the thing is the weather, with all the rain we've been getting, they just haven't been able to get on there, but,
That's why it'd be nice if we had a practice field, would be real nice, so.
we used, back in the day, that baseball field was a practice field, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we were practicing junior high.
Oh, there's that property right next to the junior, but I don't know, it's gonna.
It's kinda like going
It's
down,
not
yeah,
much.
so it's not level at all. And we also have Andrea Starr from the Living Designs out of Taos. They are, taking their sweet time about it, but they are working with us, for the facility master plan. And they've been in contact with, the guys from PFSA, and so, as long as they're working out, we're okay. And so, she did get a bunch of numbers, you guys had to do some, a questionnaire on what rooms are being used and so forth, and blah, 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 so, it's coming along, we'll get that done hopefully soon. I laugh about it because they've taken a long time to get going. Update on the fire panels, I think that's gonna be delayed also, it's gonna end up running into August before they get it done. One of the things that, I got a call from Brad, Angst yesterday from he's our analyst for helping us do all this stuff, and, for whatever reason, we're gonna be delayed another 30 days because we're supposed to advertise it, through, I think it's the Albuquerque Journal and everything that's going on. Cuddy sent out the first one and, they advertised it, and then they're supposed to do it twice, so the second one they sent out was the same one as the first one. So now they're gonna have to, so we can't close on to get our money till, July 14th. But in talking to Jessica, it's gonna be pushed back a little bit more, but we can get it done while, you know, kids are here, cause they're gonna be working on the fire panels and so forth. But it's moving along too, so, you know, those are things that we don't expect, but they do happen, so, that's where we're at. And then,
So how long does it take for them to put those in, do you know?
I have-
They say, like,
I don't know.
within a week?
well, at first they had told us that they could get it done if we started this process and we got it going in June. They said that we would probably get it done before school started. So I'm assuming that it's anywhere from 2 to 3 months. Because there's gonna be a lot more that's gotta be run, cables that gotta be run, because now we need to have a different system, to warn us. We have to have that sexy little voice that tells us what's going on. It's a fire, we don't really, you know, so we have to basically, be up to code with New Mexico code, and that's what's gonna be the thing that's gonna bog things down. So, but when we started the talks, I was under the assumption that if we started it in June, we should be able to have it done by the time school started. So I would say it was a 2-month thing, but now we probably won't even get the money till July 14th, which we can get going with it, and then we just, you know, move money around or whatever. But now, I'll reach out to, I talked to Jessica last week, and I gotta reach out to her and let her know that there's gonna be that delay also, and then I'll get a better idea of where they're at too, from last week. What else? And then, you know, in closing, I do wanna commend the maintenance and custodial crew. They've done a really good job in keeping up with the weeds and everything else that they can, you know, and it's been rough with the rain and so forth, and then guys taking vacation, and so we've managed to keep things going, and so I just, you know, Tim and all the custodians and all the maintenance guys, Paul, all of them, and they're really doing well. The two summer workers that we have, they jump right in there and get things done, and so it's been, you know, we've had a good start to the summer, so by the time that we're done with the summer program and they can get back in there, because I think most of them get back from vacation this next week, and so it was funny because Tim came to me and laughed and says, hey, he says, can they take a day off right away? He says, without having a contract yet? I said, what are you talking about? He says, well, all of them have taken off the 3rd, Monday and then the 4th,
Yeah.
and they don't even have a contract yet. I said, well, then we'll just take a day off the contract. So, Jim, don't worry about it, we'll deal with it when we get to it, but, so, yeah, we will have everybody back, you know, after the 4th of July to make sure that, anything that needs to be taken care of will be getting dealt with, and classrooms are ready to go in, so.
So the-
Everything's looking pretty snappy for the reunion.
That's her baby. But yeah, it is. She's a tour guide.
No, but I just, you know,
I don't know
Do
what
they
they're
still do tours and stuff? I did that.
Yeah, the tour is, class of 73 and 83 is at 2:00 on Saturday.
but they haven't asked for anything else, huh? No other buildings, right? Didn't they used to use the health at one time or something?
Oh, the reunion committee.
Yeah,
people.
but
Yeah,
there's nothing going on with that, I guess, right?
no.
That I know of.
They just kind of do a little tour.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna warn you right now, okay? Next year, there's gonna be a big old bash in this place. Class of '84, baby.
what's
There you
the,
go.
Feel better.
what's the special about them?
Beer and whiskey, we want more with the class of '84. And two of your head honchos are at the top, class of '84.
true.
Well, look at Claudia being all quiet, she's like,
Let him hang himself.
Little does he know, he's not invited.
All right? Then they don't get a tour, do they? So that's it for my report. If there's any questions?
Is the transportation director already
He's-
coming to be trained by Paul?
He was here, I don't know if he came in yesterday, but he was here today. I met with him today a little bit. And, in talking to Paul, he's pretty knowledgeable as it is already. Paul was saying that, you know, who's told him about this, told him about that, and he already knows, you know, what's going on.
What's this guy's name?
Lawrence Crank. Yeah. So, yeah, he's been coming down, he started now. He had a hard time finding a place to live, so his house that he's gonna get doesn't open till the 3rd. So he's gonna be here next week, then he's gonna take off that 3rd, and he's gonna go and try to get moved in and get settled before, you know, after the 4th of July and so forth, so we should be good to go with that. Questions? Okay, that's it for me.
thank you.
And I didn't ask my administrators, because 2 of them are already gone, so I didn't ask about it in the report and so forth, but, just so you guys will know, we do have our gyms open to our kids. They've been, playing a lot, they've been traveling a lot, playing out in different little communities, and as we speak right now, our girls are up in Logan in a little tournament. They're out there, you know, gyms are open, so.
Great.
No excuse to say that gyms aren't open, because they're open. We
That's
need to make sure that they're.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, that's where we're at. Thank you.
Jackets, all right.
And I believe that the weight room too.
Yeah, weight room too,
Weight
yeah.
room, they've been.
With events around, that weight room's open, if he was up to him, he'd be open 24/7.
Right.
Huh?
He is awesome. He's great.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that they're open in the practice center. That's great.
Okay. So nothing from this body, right?
We'll be 11-0 before our season starts.
Unless you have questions.
No, okay. Moving to board communication, discuss policy J4450, drug use in school activities, random drug and alcohol testing.
Madam President, members of the board, I have our school nurse here, Shelley Trujillo, that would like to address the board on this policy.
Hi, how are you?
So, Hannah Wells and I had been discussing this and kind of it was more mid-April, we went to visit with Mrs. Montoya and just with some ideas to discuss and we, or myself, I'll say myself personally since Hannah's not here, but from a health care standpoint, with evidence from American Academy of Pediatrics as well as the American Academy of Mental Health Professionals, suggests that we remove that policy from the school, drug testing policy. And I know then after that happened, there was several students who did test positive. But what we're seeing, and there's evidence out there, is that there is no evidence that testing our students helps them reduce their drug use in any way. As a matter of fact, just looking at numbers across the state for New Mexico, or not, nationwide high schools, they found that they're catching with these random drug tests about 16% of students, okay? Now, I know last month we had quite a few, but about 16%. When you look at the amount of students who voluntarily tell you that they're using drugs through like the Youth Risk Resiliency Survey, that's about 20%. So there's not a big difference. It costs the school $10,000 to $12,000. And so our thoughts were, what could we turn around and use that money in a different way? Instead of being a punitive thing, maybe do some programs that are preventative and that we're trying to get the information to these kiddos. A couple of more things on why it's not approved by the American Academy of Pediatrics. A big thing is it leads students to try harder drugs. So for instance, if you have a kiddo that's gonna say, oh, I'm gonna smoke weed, but it's gonna stay in my system for 30 days. Well, I'll try this other that's gonna stay in my system for 3. So it leads them to try harder things that are maybe not so safe. Again, synthetic drugs, it leads them to try synthetic drugs. When I was doing this research, I came across an article from Park City, Utah. Their last, they had double deaths in the last year from synthetic marijuana because kids are trying to not get caught with certain things. There is, and not that this is a pro, but there are some students out there who are not participating in athletics or extracurricular activities. Not necessarily because we want them to participate, but we're missing them 100%. If you have a kiddo out there who's on drugs and they're like, well, I'm just not gonna play sports, we're not doing anything for them. They're not getting, they're not getting into the randomized testing, they're not getting any type of education, so we're just missing them completely. So our thoughts were, let's turn around and use that money that we're using to test kids and penalizing them. We penalize these kiddos. Let's turn around and include the entire school system and do some prevention stuff, evidence-based, and there are a lot of programs out there. We can do, class-wide, we can do school-wide, we can do small group. There's a lot of stuff out there. But I think right now we're just the idea of doing these drug tests. And then just to use the last drug testing that happened here, we had a student who had a major mental meltdown from having to be in that room. People knew what was going on. She wasn't even a student that tested positive, but it was very stressful to her. Her parents had to come in. There was just a lot of stuff going on. And then, where I feel like this is a lawsuit waiting to happen, is these kids are placed in a room, they go into the bathroom, have to carry their bottle of urine out in front of everybody, and the kids are like, oh, gross, look at that. And that's, I mean, we are putting ourselves in a spot where that is not keeping their privacy upheld. So, I mean, if it is something that continues on, I think we need to work on that for sure. But again, it is, the policy in general is not recommended by American Academy of Pediatrics. Lots of evidence on that. So just something I wanted to discuss with you, and maybe we could use that money in some other way and have, teach every student. And even if it doesn't stop them, at least we're giving them that information. Manpower, that's another thing. I know Mr. Mesa said that we're gonna have full manpower next year, but it takes one of the admin all day to cart students back and forth on the days that they're doing this. So it's taking them away from their job, that, they can be doing other things. And then the follow through. So in our policy now, it talks about, that we let the parents know, and we recommend them that they need to go to some sort of therapy with a licensed alcohol and drug counselor. Who's making sure that that actually happens? Or are they going to get that done? Because usually what happens when we refer for mental health, they'll go in for their initial, and then they'll never go back. All they need is that one piece of paper that's signed, and then they don't go back. So and there's usually no talk happening in that initial visit. They'll just go in, they say, okay, we wanna see you in 2 weeks, and they never go back, okay? And are we watching that? Are we monitoring? I know I'm not, so I don't know. It's not something that I monitor on that. I know seeing those kiddos that tested positive this last month, it was like, oh, but overall, I don't know if that was just an outlier, on the path of what's going on, but it's proven not to be the most effective thing to help them stop. And if we could focus on more of doing some sort of education for everybody, and then we don't just focus on the athletic kids or the kids that go on trips. We catch every student. That is mainly, now I understand if we catch a student on campus, or if we have a major, like, we're worried about a student. We've had this happen in the past where we've been worried about a student. We call the parents in and say, our suggestion is take them right to the hospital and get them tested. And sometimes the parent will do it, sometimes they won't, but again, it's taking that, it's putting the onus on the parents for that one. So.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
First of all, if we eliminate a policy like this, how does that square with the NMAA?
It's not an MMA policy.
It's not, they don't have drug policies in the
No.
They used to. Okay. Secondly, you've done a lot of research on why we shouldn't have this policy, but I don't see any research on what we could replace it with.
So, and that would be something that I would be happy to work with, Hannah Wells. I'd be happy to work with, like the Crossroads, which is the community licensed alcohol and drug counseling system, and come up with some programs and present them to you, that would be good, that are specifically for schools, whether it be someone from the state coming in, whether it be something that we teach on our own. I would love to see something at least twice a year where we bring them in. I'd love to see, like, maybe some small group some things, but where we catch every group of students.
Well,
And use a evidence-based, program that falls into this, New Mexico school-based the curriculum, the standards.
well, it's kind of hard to just dismiss a policy without knowing what would replace it, and liability concerns me a little bit with this too, as far as the school district goes.
Right.
So,
Madam President, members of the board, just for clarification, the $10,000 that we pay or whatever we pay, you gotta remember that we're still gonna have to have a drug testing policy for our staff anyway. So it's not a full 10,000, might be 5,000, half for that, half for staff members. But when it comes to staff members, that we, especially the people that drive vehicles, that has to happen, that's by state law. We can't change that at all. So it's not the full 10,000 that you think it's there, because we're still gonna have to keep the company to do staff members that are activity bus drivers, whatever it may be, route drivers, suburban drivers, we still have to have something in there. I think that, I personally think that there's no reason why, the policy that we have in place and what they're talking about can't be something that can work together in so that, now we know that there's kids out there that tested positive, that we can get them help, and I know that Mrs. Montoya does do to the best of her ability to track on whether they go back for counseling or whatever else, and I think that's part of what we need to work on is the language on, I think you're right about punitive, I think it's more about trying to do what we can to help the kids, because, this could be the start of a problem they're gonna have in the future. And it really, if it does become a bigger issue, athletics has really nothing to do with it, because they're not gonna play anyway. They're gonna drop out, or gonna go get hooked on drugs or whatever else. But if we can tweak the policy so that it's got some more, guidelines on what it is that we as a school district are gonna do to help these kids that test positive, I think would be great. You had some ideas too, right, Claudia? You wanna share those?
Well, as the policy reads right now, the part that I would like to look at is it says that if we have a child that tests positive, we're to contact the police. And that's what the policy says, that.
well, it still is an illegal.
I didn't know, but
It's a
what I'm
criminal
saying is
act.
our school policy doesn't say that, but the school board policy does say that. So, right now, what's happening is we're having what are called MLSS meetings, multi-layer systems of support meetings, to get support for these kids, and we do say that they do have to go to counseling, and that they can't test positive again on a subsequent test. But then, if the policy, in the same year, so we'd have to change the randomness of if you did test positive, then you got tested again. Does that make sense? If you could be randomly not tested again, ever, after you tested positive once, or the next year. Well, it's not the same year. So the policy, so right now, it is, even the punitive part is, and like she said, yes, we do make sure that they've had that intake meeting, and we even have that intake meeting, they have it at the school, but then we don't have.
Well-
Unless the parent signs something saying that we have access to,
Yes.
like she said,
The private
the
information.
private information, then we don't know if they're going to counseling, but we know they've had an intake meeting, but we don't know if they've continued the counseling process.
Personally, I like having a policy, but to me, this is not student-centered. The policy isn't centered around the student, and I think that has to change. But we don't need to reinvent a policy. I bet there are many really strong, student-centered policies out there, because not making it like a gotcha, but just thinking of like, these are seventh graders and up, right, that are tested. All right, so we have job fairs. Do we have job fairs for kids in high school? College fairs, military recruiters and stuff like that? I mean, and in their presentations, do they say you have to be drug-free? I mean, because.
Most jobs that you apply for,
Most jobs you
you
have
you have to test.
And if we're turning these kids out after high school into the real world, and they've never had to be responsible to be clean, then they're gonna have a hard time finding a job that they don't have to do a drug test. I mean, I feel like it's setting them up for failure to say, well, we're just gonna kinda, they're not each.
Right, but like Ms. Shelley's saying, we're not testing all the kids, we're
But
just
see,
testing.
that's one of my concerns, like, I think some of the kids that maybe, like, need it the most,
Yeah.
need the most help or the most education on something like that aren't involved in anything, they like fall through the cracks, I don't feel like. But I do feel like there also has to be like a standard, like you have to have a standard for excellence to be great, and I do believe in that, you know what I mean? I mean, I think it's an honor and a privilege to get to wear orange and black in anything, and I think that's a higher standard to be held at too.
And
But I also think the other kids shouldn't fall through the cracks either, you know what I mean? I don't think that, you know, some parents, some homes are totally fine with it, you know what I mean? And there's no education on any of it all the way around, and I think that's a real issue and a real problem that needs to be addressed. I think that there needs to be more education into like, just like y'all are talking about.
And one
Yeah,
big thing
that's
is, education-wise, is we are living in a state that has recreational marijuana. How do we teach these kids that that means adults, not you? Or, you know, like, the major, like, the hospital, the nursing home, the prison, they've taken marijuana off of their drug testing. So they just test for the major drugs now. And because
Yeah, but our kids are getting it illegally.
yes,
So
yes.
they don't know
So
what
that's
they're
what we need
getting.
to get that information out
So-
there to them. How do we live in this world where we live in a recreational state? We need to get that information out to the students.
But I don't think you need to sacrifice one thing to do the other.
Right.
I think we can do what you guys say and still have the
We
A
drug test.
student-centered policy.
Yeah, exactly.
We can find robust programs to get the point across to these kids and help them. I think they're out there, just like you said, there's all these programs out
Yes.
there that we could tap into and use that in relation with our policy. Because, you know, people have to have boundaries. You can't just say, do whatever, and then put them through a program and still do whatever.
Yeah.
We've got young minds that need boundaries.
And my concern is that, let's say you do get an athlete out there that's stoned out of their mind in a game or something. Not only are they putting themselves in jeopardy because their mind is not in the right place, but they could also hurt someone else. And you know, we've gotta take care, we gotta think of the people that are on the other side of it also, not just the one that could be under the influence. You know, and I'm not gonna throw you under the bus or anything, but in my experience for 25 years, I have yet to run into one school nurse that will say, yes, this kid's under the influence. They will not take that plunge and say, they'll tell you, yeah, his eyes look a little red, but they'll never, and I don't know if it's yeah.
We don't diagnose.
See, so it's left up to us to make a determination, and then if we don't have anything, a leg to stand on or anything else, and like you said, now we got parents, it's okay if they're home today. And then you know, we gotta educate them. That wasn't our job in the past. Our job was to provide an education. Now we're expected to be parents also. And that's really, really, really tough. I mean, I guess the question I would have, and I know that as parents I know what you're gonna say, as a good parent, you would tell your kids the difference between drugs and whatever at home, okay? But we don't have that now, okay? So what would you want for your kids, you know what I'm saying? What would you want for your personal kid? If you, I mean, you don't want him drug tested, then you're doing what you need to be doing, and it shouldn't happen, but even kids that have two parents that are good kids, they will experiment, the peer pressure that's out there, they will try. And,
Is there
you know,
locked out or locked out?
No.
Locked out.
yeah, so, and you're absolutely right on confidentiality, we need to work on that. I saw it this last time, there's gotta be a better way of doing this, it's a catch-22, and I don't think people really pay much attention to it, and I saw the student that you talked about, where they were having a meltdown over it and so forth, but we need to figure out, I mean, the thing is that when they round you up and bring you down here, I mean, you're talking about the inconvenience to our administrators on how it's done or whatever. I mean, we bring a group of kids down, we drop them off, they do it. If we're gonna bring one kid at a time so that they don't know what it is, that's gonna take a lot, I don't know, You know, I would
Why
mention,
couldn't you do the, and I don't know, they don't, I'm sure they don't have someone in there watching them, but why couldn't you have it already taken care of in a little bag and it's labeled? I mean, I don't know if that's
well,
a
she has-
security issue.
she has,
No, I mean, like,
she has to,
someone's there, but
she
they.
has to make sure that the person that is providing the sample is, it's there. We had 2 students that brought in their own.
Synthetic, right, but here's one thing that I think is important too, these kids should not be pulled out of core classes
I agree.
for that reason.
And,
Be kind of more considerate about their learning environment.
but they come in and set up around 9 o'clock, here to a certain time. And maybe the thing that needs to happen is, we need to send her to get the high school done first, and the teachers that are within the high school, and then send them over to the junior high, and so that then we don't have to bust them around all over the place and so forth, I don't know.
What
I mean,
happens if you have to get a teacher or administrator, whatever, to go get a drug test? What do you do?
We can't catch them on their prep, then we end up having to get somebody to cover their class while they come get it done. And it's not a quick
But I
process.
mean, I'm missing what I'm saying. What do they do? Do they go somewhere to get this done to?
They set up a room here.
Yeah, right now, they do it right out of the conference room.
And why don't you treat the students the same way?
They are, they're being
Yeah.
treated the same exact way.
But
But
she was
it's,
saying that there was a bunch of kids in there and they're walking out with,
They're all in the conference room.
Yeah, they have a conference.
so you have a bunch of teachers in the
Yes.
conference room and they walk out with their urine too?
no, they go into my restroom, they do their thing, and then they come out and give her the thing, she labels it, seals it and everything else, and does the rest of the paper. You know what I'm saying? So, like I
Since
said,
you have a little bit more,
on that particular,
Streamlined or no?
so this last time I told them, I don't want all these kids in here. We need one kid at a time to do their thing, and we had kids lined up over where the ladies were working. And so, I told them, we gotta figure out something different, this
It
isn't
used to
working.
be in that building where, that was an administrative building for a while, it used to be in there.
Yeah, but,
That's a classroom.
Oh, it is a classroom, okay.
it was a classroom, now it's a special ed, director's office. And so, like I said, maybe it's an issue of moving, instead of them coming to her going to them. You know, and like that, the junior high kids that get tested, cause it's just 7 through 12, that get tested over there, and Mr. Funk doesn't have to come over here, but either way, you're gonna have somebody supervise them. Cause she doesn't come in here to supervise, she comes in here to test. So you're gonna have
And
some.
how many kids at one time are tested?
There's like 3 or 4 kids in there at a time.
Well, this
But
last
overall,
time-
it's like 20 overall.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but not at the same time.
Yeah, right.
So 3 or 4 are called at a time.
Is it an issue with the junior high,
With what?
with kids testing positive at the junior high level?
They haven't yet, that I know of, but.
Right, so the day that I was in charge of the junior high, that's what they did. Oh my God, you need to drink more water, look how orange that is, or, you know what I mean, they were just, because they're little kids.
Yeah.
Kids are kids.
Yeah.
They're little kids.
The education thing.
So at the end of the day, it's a board policy, and I don't know, if we need to take it to our attorneys and see
Well,
or what we need to do, I don't.
wouldn't that be a social worker thing too, to follow up with the counseling and stuff? Wouldn't it be a social worker duty?
Well, if the
I don't
parent,
know.
the parent has to, if they're minor, you know, if they're minors, the parent has to give you a release of record.
Consent to, because it's a.
so.
I would love to have a social worker that could, you know, if
Yeah.
we had an in-house social worker that could do that. Now Hannah is our in-house social worker, but she is very limited to,
That's an uphill battle.
absolutely,
Yeah.
she's
Because half the
limited.
parents will be
is-
like,
is
oh,
special
I don't want
ed
you
and-
looking into my
Yeah.
kid's stuff, and
She has got a full
I don't have any
plate.
problem with it. Then you can't even help them then if you wanted to, did I understand that right?
Say that again?
Like, so if you're not allowed to release, through the parents, you're not allowed to release like their records or anything like that to them, then you can't really go in and help them because
Right, yeah, it all has to go through the parents.
that's
And the reason.
double negative.
And the reason I think that it's targeting your athletics, your activities, and because these are extracurricular activities that are privileged, not a right.
Right.
Okay, and that's why that is geared towards that population of people. Because if you get any kid that doesn't, we can't keep them out of school. They are entitled to a free and appropriate education. But when it comes to athletics, that is a privilege, not a right.
Is this random testing, so the student, what if they decide they don't wanna do it? Can they refuse?
You can't opt out.
Huh?
You can't opt out, so just
But I
like,
mean,
If they
if
refuse-
But
they,
only the
They're
kids in
getting out there.
extracurricular activities get tested,
Yeah.
So
right?
they're giving
but
up
that could be
their
chorus, that could be
opportunities.
band, that could be.
Right.
but what
They're
if
not
a
involved in
kid
anything.
says, I ain't gonna do it? Then what happens?
I don't know what the
Great
policy
question.
calls for.
See, this is so loose that there are, I
Yeah, that-
think it's like a,
So the policy kind of just leaves us out there,
well, to
right?
me, the
Yeah, it needs
policy
some
is like,
homework.
you do this, we're gonna do this.
And the parents are notified
Without
immediately
saying,
and all that?
Cause I tell you what happens,
center.
what happens is, what the policy says towards an employee, that if they refuse to get drug tested, they are subject to termination.
Well, that's
Also
what I was
the
asking about the
extracurricular.
students.
No, I'm
Yeah, that's
talking
what they
staff.
believe, yeah.
Oh.
So if a staff
Well, it
member
really should
refuses,
be the same way for the participation
so
in
then they
sports.
would be off sport, yeah, that's what I would, that's what I would assume, but I
That's
think,
not right.
but that's the kind of language that needs to
It's
be
not
on
in
there.
writing anywhere.
Well, I've always, being an educator, I've always been amazed how, you know, people are worried about, well, they meet these standards. When you raise the bar, guess what?
They don't need it.
They'll meet it.
Yep.
They do. And it's not, I mean, just letting them know, hey, we're not out to get you. But whenever you go out into the real world, if you're gonna go into the military, if whatever your occupation is, you know.
Here's a perfect
colleges,
example of what you're saying at the training yesterday, right? They brought up the issue that most parents, what was the percentage of parents think that their kids are where they need to be?
Like 85%.
80 or something like that, and then you ask the teachers, are the kids where they need to be, and that's only like 40%, right? So they said there's a big gap in between. Why is that happening? Well, it's because all kids get into the AB honor roll, and so that sends a message to the parent, hey, your kid's doing great, but then you come back and they're not. And Ms. Hyman had to deal with that last year, where you have to teach at grade level, because that's the only way we're gonna know where they're at. If you simplify it, like you said, we don't have, but if
You're
you
gonna lose all
keep the
those
standards
steps.
high, our job is to get these kids to meet the high standard, not to water it down and make it look good. No, I mean, if
So-
you're gonna send a message to the parent that by saying your kid's on the A and B honor roll, A and B honor roll says that you're on grade level.
So to look at what we can do here to make it better for our kids and, you know, to make them into those adults that society needs them to be, I think that we should look at what other policies there are out there and see if there's one that is everything that we would want it to be. And maybe, I mean, that way we don't have, I mean, instead of rewriting it, look at it and maybe there's some great ideas out there we have no clue, you know? And do that kind of research. That's what I would recommend doing first.
We
There's gotta
have
be a way
to
to
have
like
a
mesh
policy.
there.
Yes.
There's gotta be a way to like
Everything
mesh
You said,
education, like,
'Cause
cause
we
everything,
do
you nailed
need
everything you said.
well, and Miss Shelley is so great with our students and
And you're
I know
kind,
that
and you're
you,
loving, and you're great.
you hold them up here. And I know that that's why you are bringing this to us. But let's see how your ideas could fit into a better policy that would help and not be just meant to get,
When we-
right? Right.
When we
Gotcha,
adopted
gotcha.
this policy, I remember when we adopted this new policy, and it was on the cuspis of this state becoming a recreational marijuana state. And we had that man that passed away that did all our policy stuff. Yeah, he put this thing together and it fit all the parameters at that time.
Because people were scared.
Because this is a place we didn't know as a school district where we were going.
Right.
And so you know, like you said, we probably need to look at some other policies that may be out there that would be more conducive to what we're trying to aim for. But I don't think, as a school district, we can get away with just dispensing with a policy, to be honest with you.
I agree. I agree.
Well, and it's.
Not that we can't make our policy better.
It's kind
Right,
of
and have more
sad.
education, push for more education about drugs.
No, that's okay. I'm just thinking it's kind of sad. We had 7 who tested positive and then school ends and then what?
Right?
I mean, you know, it's like no telling what they're thinking and what they're doing, you know. And I've personally witnessed kids who they missed being tested, and guess what? There's one that was very dear to me who's no longer here because of a drug overdose. And if there could have been some interventions once upon a time. So,
I mean, with alcohol, for example, you get in big trouble if you come to school drunk as a student. So I don't look at marijuana any
Really
different.
different, right?
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Right, but if a kid is recreationally using alcohol on the weekends, there's no way to catch them. You know what I'm saying? It's
Or
not
harder
gonna
drugs
stay
that
in
are out of your
system.
system faster.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the concern. You know, marijuana stays in your system for so long that, you will. I mean, even if you haven't done it, maybe even for more than 30 days, you can still test positive. My suggestion is like you guys are talking about, so if I had something that I could stand on where, okay, here's what we're gonna do, we're gonna get you help, blah, 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 and then next time it won't be a random drug test. Next time you will be tested.
And you have to come back and.
And you know what I'm saying, something like that, to take the random out of a kid that tested.
Right.
Right, that's
You gotta
a
be held to
good
a higher
idea.
standard. I
That's
agree.
a good idea. Because we want you to be clean
Yeah.
and experience playing sports. We want you to have all the benefits of being a kid.
If they do test positive, how long are they out?
They're not out.
Oh, I thought it said like 180
No.
days.
No,
So they're not out of sports.
no, okay. So that first time, so that's what I'm saying, it doesn't say anything about being
Those are the things we
suspended.
gotta-
That's what we've gotta talk
The
about.
penalty.
I thought at one time it was like a long.
It might have
It
been
was
at
at
one
one-
time, but it doesn't read that way anymore.
It used to be that way, that's when
How
we
did it
changed
just
all that,
change?
because,
I've been here the whole time whenever it started and I'm like.
yeah, it was pretty rough before, and when we had to redo this thing, that's what the whole deal was try to figure out a way.
Well, and I told you this before, that my husband was the one who brought this up and asked for it at the time, because he had players who were getting high in the parking lot and then coming into the locker room, everybody knew it, that he didn't know it at the time, you know, until they get out there and he could tell when they were playing. But, and then it's like, what, then you just turn them loose and let them go home?
This has been
I
going on for
mean-
years.
I
Yes,
think,
but
I think,
it was very disturbing, because and you know them, you know their parents, and you're like, I know that their parents have no clue that they're doing that.
well, I think that's what needs to be established, is we need to, get a policy that, okay, this is what's gonna happen. I mean, if you go get drug tested, if you come back positive, we need to have what is going to happen. Okay, you're out of sports for how long? Are you suspended for a couple of games? Are you, what is it, whatever. But then there's gotta be in there too, stuff there to make sure that we're gonna get them the help they need. Okay, it can't just be, you're off of sports and now nothing. And so, you know, when we do the handbooks and we spell it out, and the parent signs that they got the handbook, that's kinda like a binding contract saying they're gonna abide by what's
Yeah.
there.
And
Well, there's
this
stuff
needs
in
to
the-
move fast, because we have a new school year coming up, so I was thinking, I know everybody thinks, oh gosh, I'm on another committee, you know this, but if you could form like a little task force or whatever, a little committee, you don't have to work that, but suggestion was great. I mean, and anybody else who might want to be a part of that, and maybe grab a parent.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah, or two that you know, wouldn't that be great?
And we could, and I could talk to Gino and them to see if there's another school that has a drug policy and see how they,
It's like cut and dry on it.
You can go onto the NNSBA website and you can access any school, you can access the school's policy, so,
cause
you
not
were
all
just
of them have
looking
one,
at-
but I don't know which was.
I mean, I would
I know
look at-
Peñasco has one.
look at these powerful schools, look at these powerhouse schools and see what they have.
Well, I know,
Because,
like coming from Carlsbad, they didn't do it because there's
Because
eight
they just
thousand
wanted to
students
win.
and they pop, I don't know why. they
Well,
didn't
there's
do
a
it.
lot-
They didn't wanna deal with, they have eight
but some of
thousand
them aren't like
students.
that, they just wanna win, they,
Yeah, but
it
they're-
doesn't matter what the kids are doing.
And I think it originally was for steroids. I think that's originally why they started gay drug use, it was for steroids. And it's moved
But,
on to something
yeah, I mean, that could be a problem too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, how are you doing powerlifting? Well, way better than this week. And I was like,
Steroids.
It's like a house now, so,
Cocaine.
you know,
I
I feel
mean-
like I'm doing well.
When I was in college, I
Opioids.
had guys in the dang locker room snorting up cocaine for the games. So I said, you know, this has been a problem for years.
Opioids are a problem too.
Yeah, pain, they get on them opioids
Prescription
and
bills
stuff.
or anything, yeah.
But maybe the college recruiters, the military, those people that come and say, hey, we want you to also include this in your presentation with our students. You know,
Absolutely.
talk to them about, if you're, I'm sorry, you know, doesn't matter if you, I know in the military, if you have flat feet, they're probably not going to.
Flat feet.
But hey, you might have perfect feet, but if you're a drug user, guess what?
I do support that, if this is, if we're gonna integrate the goal, but I do support that it's not punitive, that we focus more on preventative. And maybe it could be something that if someone does test positive, you can choose, we're gonna suspend you for X amount of games, or you can show that you can give us information that you went to 4 therapy sessions, or 6 therapy sessions, or something. We
Right.
don't need to know the information, just that, yes, they showed up,
Right,
but.
yeah, like just a little. almost
Yeah,
like
same day or go to
signature
see
on your plan.
Well, I know if a
For
kid
that
gets
first
busted-
time.
I know if a kid gets busted for DWI, they gotta go to therapy and all this stuff. So why don't we make it that kind of way, you know, I
Better
mean?
to deal with the school than the law, right?
Exactly.
And we're trying to intervene as a school district in the law, basically, to keep them from getting in trouble with the law, because this is an illegal act.
Absolutely. And as is alcohol or anything
Exactly.
else, yeah.
And that is covered in the student school handbook about if you break the law. So, you know, we're kind of giving them a chance here, in a sense.
Yes.
Yeah, right now they're dealing with us, in the future, they'll be
Exactly.
with judges and
Right.
everything else.
To prevent them to, okay, so that we can move on, can we have like a little, committee task force, something like that? Or something, just great minds that are thinking of ways to improve?
Sure.
And maybe looking at other policies, from other schools, that might be the easiest thing, is to look to see.
Well, I think commingling a good program with a policy, I
Like a
think
health
is the best
program.
way to go.
Health program and a policy, I agree.
And if we put together a task force to kind of figure that out and then present it, I think.
But definitely, if you're working on including parents and the communication, grab some parents that you know are very proactive in the school and will come and.
You get
If,
more ideas than.
as a parent, if I'm sitting there thinking, I want my kid drug tester, then I'm thinking, well, there were other parents who came up with these ideas.
I
Not
think
just
get those
the-
kind of
the
parents on
suits
there,
at
though.
school.
Get
That's-
Get that kind of parent on the task force and find out why they don't want their kids drug
Now they're gonna
tested.
be like.
Sure, every side of every opinion,
Right.
we'll figure it out.
This could be a great thing, honestly.
Well, wait,
It could.
a year from now, everybody's gonna be like, man, did you see Clayton's policy? They're
Right.
killing it.
Right, they would be
It's
wondering.
everybody and they're killing it.
Yeah, and we really, we appreciate appreciate you
Yes.
very much.
Yes,
And
thank you so
great
much.
ideas.
Do you want this like for the next board meeting?
Oh, well, I
If
want
you
you
want
to.
if you can do it that fast, that would
August
be great.
meeting, the
How
September
about,
meeting?
can you at least look at other policies?
Please don't let that be go.
I mean, it probably has, that's awesome.
If my flowers get ripped up, I know people have watched real things.
If
I've
it starts
lost
hailing, I gotta
flowers,
leave
so
immediately.
I
My
won't
wife
say
will
that.
beat me if it started.
It's,
Your new
Yes.
car.
I got some wicked.
Yes, Dr. Clear. Did you?
Oh, man, baseball side.
Yeah.
I was
Okay,
scared to death.
so we can move on then to the summer program.
Okay.
Discuss the future of the summer program.
When are we gonna do the task force?
We're gonna let them, we're gonna push that, put it in their hands and let them,
Moving on, perfect.
okay? And the future of the summer program, I asked that this be on the agenda just so that I apologize in advance for all those people that are hating me right now because of this. But, you know what, I got a call from Mrs. Beckner. I don't know, can I disclose that? What?
It's not personal matter, it's not supposed to do with.
Okay, I got a call from her and she was, she's doing phenomenal things with these kids. The things that the lessons with fishing poles and stuff like that, I'm like, really have fun, and they're learning. But not just that, but some kids go to these programs to eat. And guess what, they're gonna learn something while they're there. So, I don't know, she's been telling me about the wonderful things that they're doing and, really focusing on reading and math, and I just thought, you know, we talked about that gap that COVID and everything else creates. This is one thing that I feel like could help with the little ones, because what, is it by third grade, if they haven't had some of those interventions, you may never get them. So, I really hope that the summer program can be handled through the school in the future, just to make sure that it is educationally based. We have the best people to do that, and maybe some of those teachers who want some of those summer jobs, if they know the school's running it, maybe they'll be more likely to want to help. I don't know, that was just my idea. And I know that, talking to Hesper, when we met with Lori and Jennifer and myself, you and Hesper, right? And we met and you said that there is money out there.
She said there was money out there.
Doing what?
Data one,
Yes.
that's gonna go away, but we kind of wonder would be, good, as long as she wrote it as extended.
Well, because what scared me was, Cheryl Garcia had told me, and I'm not quoting it word for word, but she said that the county was gonna get away from funding the summer program. So,
Dang.
Well, the 10 years that I did it, the county still funded it.
yes,
And
and
like
it
I-
was through an individual.
We still used, Title I funds and stuff like that. We got to do like, field trips and stuff like that, as long as you could tie it back to this learning experience and all that stuff, Title I will pay for those kind of things. But and then Arvidsson himself even gave us money out of his mother's trust, a trust thing that she had. So, I mean, I think there would be money out there.
Well, I would be willing to go back to the county.
Maybe the city could.
So the county doesn't need help on it anymore?
Yes, they're helping now, but this might be it.
Really?
This might
They're
be
they're
the
helping
last
now with money
base
wise,
sale.
that's all they're helping.
Yeah.
That's all they ever did.
Yeah, but the money, like, the original amount isn't exactly what they're giving now. And so I don't know, there's something, I can help get that clarified. I'll go back to their meeting and ask to be on their agenda and bring my,
I was there the last time.
yeah,
Right, and we actually went to, council meetings, and we went to the city council meetings, and we went,
We went to city
yes.
council.
and we showed them exactly what we're gonna do and how it's gonna work, and we wanted them to
Does the city do anything at all?
They used to, and they did give a discounted rate for
Well, they do
$1
very,
off their admittance to the pool.
well, they're ripping us off this time.
Well, right, so if only half of the kids get to go, then they should only have to pay half the price. You know what I mean?
Well, they charge
They don't let them
kids
all
to
go
go.
at the same
I
time.
know, because there's too many. But,
But they're charging it full price.
But they're, well, like charging them $3 for $2.
but
So they're actually making more money
Full price.
off of
They are.
the summer rec than they are on a regular kid.
Yeah, and so I think maybe putting some pressure on those entities might help too. And when you show up to their meetings and.
Yeah, to make them understand that
Some
we're
of them
keeping
will
these
follow the
kids
rules.
from sitting
Off
in
of
front of.
drugs.
We're keeping them from sitting in front of a TV all day or from, you know what I mean?
Totally.
How would they like it in the newspaper that the city is taking money from summer rec?
Well, see, that's why I asked to be on the agenda. I didn't wanna
Dear
just
letter to
go
the
into
editor.
the public comment, or I asked to be on the agenda because I know better. Cause then they can just like, so, okay.
Yeah, it's benefit the whole town.
Can we?
We've
can we
already
recommend-
started
Do you guys
handling it.
feel like that?
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna handle it. I'm just saying, I will go back and say, hey, the school, you know, if you guys say, because I don't wanna just say, hey, we're gonna, the school's gonna do the summer program. I don't want, no, that's not what I
Right.
mean.
And like you
Oh, that's
say,
awesome.
it's something that starts.
Sign.
Thank God that I need.
Vote to
Sign for
revenue.
God that the sun has had us.
Yes.
Summer
I
rec
saw
must
it the
go
other way.
on.
I saw it the
Wave
other
at
way.
Kim and say,
I know
let's take a potty
Claudia
break.
had a
Stay
very
over.
organized system.
Oh,
with
okay,
summer
good.
rec.
I also.
And I don't mean to throw it on you, but I'm saying there's some good people. Oh, they do? Okay, we'll take a recess.
He needs a
Okay.
rest.
So wait.
All this
so we-
water, this.
Madam President, I move that we take a 5-minute recess.
All right. It's been moved and seconded, take a 5-minute recess, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Take a 5-minute recess.
This is the one
Does
that
that make
needs to
sense?
be
Or, yeah,
I can't pause this, just so everyone knows. It just has to stay on, just so you know. Huh?
Oh, she did.
Any parent that works at the school, they don't have her pay. They said, you know, they like to go into, but they're like, no, you don't have further problems, because they have somebody that works at the school. Yeah, every day.
I'll just email it, so there's like a paper. Okay. Thank you, Shelley, appreciate you.
Like, I said, I said, put this one right here, because we're all great.
I did have it like a darker color, you know.
I like it black.
Yeah, it just, it like blends well with my heart. Really? She's like.
So she was like, is Barbara coming?
She made the top 1.5%
I'm so glad.
in the nation.
She's
off. Her personality.
Oh, heck yeah.
How could you tell?
How would you not wanna buy it?
Right. And you should see what she does. She sets up like, she has dinners for clients. She sets up these like elaborate, I don't know. Oh, she's. Who's that ready now? You ready for?
Yes. Right? I want criminal minds.
You know what, I drove back from White Rock, this morning. Well, on the way up there and went back, I listened to daytime podcasts. I love, oh my God, wow. And I'm like, oh, and everything's doing it?
Oh, my goodness.
I almost called you because I thought your white phone was good. It was just sunny, but I was like,
You always look dead.
what's the name of those people?
Yeah, sprinkles, yeah.
Sprinkles.
Good.
Oh, I know. Okay, can we move on? Are we ready to reconvene? Can we have a motion? Go. Do you have to make a motion to come back in?
Do what?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, Madam President, I move that we, come back to
Moved and seconded to come back from recess. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, moving to financial matters, consideration and approval of financial reports.
Madam President, I move that we approve the financial report.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the financial reports. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Financial reports have been approved, and it looked like there was
Three
only
bars.
bars, no
Three bars.
transfers, right? Three bars.
Madam President, I move that we approve the 3 bars.
Okay, was the Title I carryover entitlement, the teacher, principal training and recruiting? It's been moved and seconded to approve the bars. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Bars have been approved.
Madam President,
Yes.
members of the board, before you move on, I have a little statement here that Johnny left, I sent her home because she was feeling sick today, and so I told her if she could make it, she could go with that. So, in an effort for transparency, we wanted to inform the board of an issue that happened in the July of 2022, that we were made aware of around June 6th or 7th. We were working to get it resolved. I, Mr. Maestas, received a call from the city clerk, and I don't know if it's the city clerk or the business manager of the city, of the town of Clayton, let me know that we had made tax deposits under the city's tax ID number. So they're saying that we did that for some of our, that we paid our taxes for our employees and that we used their ID number. So they gave me a heads up, the IRS is gonna be looking into it, and so as soon as I got the call, I let the ladies know I had team to start looking into it, and then I informed Johnny of it. And it says after looking at our deposit, it looks like all payments were made online under the school's tax ID number. It was the 941, and don't ask me what that is, form that was mailed, second quarter of 2022, that had the last number of the tax ID number incorrect. All tax deposits were made correctly, so it's that, 941 form that was filed, yeah, that's the only thing that
So
was
there
there.
was
No, it wasn't. So when the IRS received the form and saw that they had the city's tax ID number, they probably couldn't match it up to their deposit, so they, so this is how it's most likely got caught. IRS has not sent the letter to us yet, so we're ahead of it. The IRS, when I talked to, the person from the city, they basically told me that it would be about 14 days before they reach out to us and so forth. And so, so that would have been done, I believe, that second quarter, which is like, March, April, May of 2022. That was before Johnny started, so, but luckily it wasn't all the other things. And just so you know, the tax ID numbers, one is 5 and the other one is 6. So, she will know. But we just wanted me to let you guys know about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, moving to action item A, consideration and approval of the special ed policy
Thank you. Madam President, members of the board, I do have Ms. Chelsea Valdez here to answer any questions if you have any. If you don't have any questions, my recommendation is to approve policies and procedures. I know you read it all.
Did you read all 406 pages?
I did.
Okay.
Okay, so at the
It was
very end of the,
boring.
at the very end of the last page, it said that if you read it all, your name would be put in for a drawing, so did you get to that page?
I was not on there.
I didn't have that.
It just has a signature page.
I didn't read it all, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't read it all.
Do you
I did
want
skip
us to
through.
sign this page after we do this?
What's that one for?
It's the approval to adopt it, John and I.
Oh, but that's for some of us. I think
Well,
that's,
that was for the,
deserves.
I have a signature page after the IDAB application.
okay, okay.
I make a motion to approve the special education policies and procedures.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the special education policies and procedures. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Special education policy and procedures have been approved. Moving to consideration and approval of special education IDEA B application.
Madam President, members of the board, again, we're asking you for your approval of the special education IDEA application. Mrs. Valdez is here to answer any questions that you may have regarding the application.
Any questions?
I can answer them if you have any.
Madam President, I make a motion that we approve the special education IDEA EAB application.
A second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the special education IDEA B application. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Special education IDEA B application has been approved.
Madam President, members of the board, just want to let Mrs. Chelsea Valdez know that I really appreciate all the hard work she's put into this. Especially that she's doing an awesome job.
Nice.
Good job.
Good job.
Here's your wonderful thing.
Yes.
I need your signature. Can I get it now? Absolutely. And then I can just.
Nope.
Well, that's what the sign here is.
She knows me.
I didn't do one for you.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah,
Okay,
now,
Cassie.
you know, the back only came with one.
Okay, Cassie.
Oh.
I can, I
whoa.
changed. They get all mad because I call them each other
Every
names.
day.
I told her to register herself and Cassie for the STARS conference.
I said, okay, I'll get Cassie and I registered.
I love Cassie, so it's
But see, at least it's a compliment.
Yeah.
True, true.
Both your personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other signatures? No, thank you. Okay, thank you very much for your sweat out there.
Thanks,
I'm just
Chelsea.
gonna hang out, yeah, right, it's raining too hard.
All right. Okay, moving to action items, C, consideration approval of terminating contract with Cuddy and McCarthy LLP.
Madam President, it gives me great pleasure
Hey, time out. Wait.
No. During discussion. Well, let me-
Madam President, it gives me great pleasure to approve the termination of the contract with Cuddy McCarthy. I would make a motion in that effect.
It's been moved with great pleasure and seconded with great pleasure, sure, to approve the terminating contract with Cuddy McCarthy LLP. Any discussion?
Madam President, members of the board, so, you received the letter that I received, and basically what's happening is Dan Castile is leaving Cuddy, and he was kind of like our lead attorney, I guess, and so forth, and so he's actually joining, Tony and Gino. Okay, so they gave us three options, okay? I wish my files or files to stay with Cuddy. No, from what I hear, I wish my files and any trust account balances to be transferred, to, Dan Castile, please send files and blah, blah, to Ortiz and Zamora, or the last line, I wish to continue using both law firms. So I'm thinking we want that second one, everything to go with Dan over to
Yes.
Gino and Evan. Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I saw that, I read that.
All right. Anything
Well,
else?
his wife,
I
gave
gave
us all the
him-
trouble if you want to.
Oh, I gave Gino and them stress over
You tell him if, yeah.
this. I told him, Mark,
Okay,
Okay.
Happily moving on.
all right. All
Well,
those in
we-
favor of terminating the contract with Petty McCarthy LLP, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay,
So
so
I
we will
will-
terminate the contract with Petty McCarthy.
I will check this off in,
You
Are
didn't
you-
give us options.
It was the,
give you
two, yeah.
number two.
Right here.
So are you the one that needs to sign this? Are you the client signature? I'm not the client one.
but yeah, because it's a board return.
So I have a copy that we'll get it signed. Remind me, we'll get it signed.
Okay.
You have it in your packet.
But did you check it?
Yes, sir.
So, check that, and then.
Is that this one that is the last
I
one?
guess you said.
Yeah,
Who will be you?
it's under the
It
state.
says client
We'll find it.
signature.
Oh, no, that's the one. Okay.
That one didn't work?
Gosh.
Typical bank pen.
Wow, we would have other pens if somebody would have just gone around and picked them from the vendors. She does it when they're all gone after food's done and put the covers over. She's on.
Right.
I got a bunch. I just love
I know.
I'll bring it.
Here you are, Mr. Superintendent. You can mail
Give us
this.
a copy and.
Great pleasure. Put a happy face smiley.
Right.
Do you have the rest of it? There's, well, I have the letters.
Hey, good work.
We just checked that one.
I got it all here.
Okay.
Just give me this. I'll send it over. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to action item D, consideration and approval of resolution regarding deposition of portable buildings and text lines independent school district.
Madam President, members of the board, just like we did earlier on in the year, we got rid of one of our portables. Mr. Jones asked if we would be willing to sell another one, and so I'm asking for your approval to sell him another one of the portables for the same price, $1,200, and it'll be the one that's over there at the Alvis that's facing the low income, that parking lot for junior high. And so if I could have your.
And they move it.
They move it, same thing as everything. So
Okay,
we've already emptied it.
Willing to pay for removal and transportation. Okay.
You did it last time.
Madam President, I move that we approve the motion to consider and approve the resolution regarding deposition of portable building to text line ISD. I really butchered that.
I second the motion.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution regarding deposition of,
Disposition.
of portable building to text line ISD.
Disposition, it's called disposition.
Yeah, it says-
Dispense with.
Anyways.
What?
All right, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so resolution regarding deposition of portable buildings and text line ISD has been approved. Just read what it says.
Yeah.
Which was-
And I did
Yeah,
what they had on the
something
other.
else now. Okay. Action item E, consideration and approval of new contract with Manning Accounting and Consulting Services LLC.
Madam President, members of the board, after sending out RFPs for proposals and so forth, this is one of the only ones we got back, and Maria and Johnny are both very satisfied with seeing if we can get these guys on board. So
When would they start?
Just come school year right away.
Like starting in August?
Yeah.
That's when the other contract is released? in
It's
August?
already been released, and I tell you right now, we're already gonna have one audit finding, and it's gonna be that we didn't turn in the auditor's contract on time to the auditors, but that's because we were looking for a new auditor. my recommendation is that we, that you approve, the new contract with Manning County Consulting Services LLC.
And was this price comparable to that
So
other,
it was actually a little bit cheap,
little cheaper? Okay. And she's already met with them?
yes.
Okay.
Madam President, I move that we approve the new contract with Manning County Consulting Services LLC.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the new contract with Manning County Consulting Services LLC. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. New contract with Manning County Consulting Services approved. Moving to consideration approval of, is it,
No, it should, no, it should say McGraw-Hill.
McGraw-Hill, this is the one that, okay. can we-
Yeah,
Okay, so we're gonna have to make a motion to amend.
McGraw-Hill?
McGraw-Hill.
We don't have the contract, we don't have, oh, it's just the, just, there is no contract, right?
For what?
These social studies.
No, it's the adoption of the social studies curriculum, what we're gonna use materials. So, because it's a time to do the new social studies, standards, curriculum.
Yeah, yeah. So is it gonna be, like very, yeah, is it lean one way or another, or is it like the?
Actually, you know, Hesper did a really, really fabulous job, and she put a great presentation together for parents. And so the parents looked at everything that we had to look at that was on the adoption cycle. And they really liked the McGraw-Hill. And it follows the standards and benchmarks. And so, and then how we worked it out is, so K through 5 does their thing. And then sixth and seventh do US history. One does US history the early years, one does world history the early years. 8th grade does New Mexico history. And then at the high school, we do world history, the modern times. We do US history, modern times. So we're not overlapping. Do you know what I'm saying? We've streamlined it to where we're not overlapping. And then seniors do government and econ, and then freshmen do 1 semester in New Mexico history.
Okay.
So, social studies has been, they've used it, in my opinion, the social studies curriculum to kind of a porthole into social engineering, social justice, all that stuff. That's not in this.
Well, I could go get a world history book and the adoption book. I gave them out to the teachers so that they could see what we were ordering, so that they could work with them over the summertime. But I mean, they're teaching history, they're teaching kids how to think, but they're not telling them what to think.
So it doesn't matter, so this is just the book, but the social studies curriculum itself is given by the state saying, here, this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
So then the textbook companies get that, and then they have to put it into, they still have to publish
Yes.
they still have to publish it, but we know that probably some are a little more, maybe, I don't wanna say hidden agenda, I know that's what
My-
you do, but
my
I
concern-
kind of feel like
concern-
there is some kind of a.
Well, my
push
concern is, I've noticed in the last 15 years that the public school systems have used the social studies curriculum to
push the agenda.
to push a certain agenda that is leaning more towards this social justice, social engineering sort of stuff, and I don't even know if we can even find a curriculum anymore that is strictly social studies, not you know, like the old social studies, it wasn't where they told you, you know, we've gotta think this certain way or do this certain thing in life to get by. I mean, I think, and it's just been it's almost like an indoctrination. They use it to indoctrinate the kids in a certain way of thinking. And especially in the social studies curriculum, and I just don't want our kids to have to be put through that. I mean, I think there's enough of that in everything else without it being in our school system. I'm just,
It's up to you guys to approve or just.
I guess.
and I don't know what,
it's
Do we
not-
have
I
a
haven't even
I
looked
mean-
at the book.
It's not the curriculum that we're approving, it's the textbook.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
what
a
I said, I
textbook,
haven't even
yeah.
looked at the book, so I'm
All
on
parents or.
I'm asking
everybody
you-
liked it, it was at the
Yes,
meeting.
I'm asking you who has reviewed the book,
I've reviewed high school. So if you're talking, so world history is world history, US history is US history.
it's supposed to be.
And
Yeah.
it is. That's how those books are made. And so at the high school, we go from US history from the Vietnam War on. And then, in world history, we do modern.
Now, I'm talking more of the social studies.
Right, so I'm not sure what the elementary, I don't know what the social studies looks like from elementary.
Because this isn't a history book, right?
Yeah, it's history book.
Oh, it is?
Social
Yeah,
studies is
so
history.
social
It's just
studies
a
is
history book.
considered history
Yeah.
now.
So social studies is considered history?
That's just what they
Yeah.
label it.
History falls under social
I didn't know that
studies.
So that's,
So the books so the McGraw-Hill books that you are approving are just our world history and our US history books.
well, just what gets me is what has happened is using, and I noticed this even 30 years ago, that there was an attempt using the social studies porthole into history books to, for example, to give an opinion on, let's just take one specific time in history of the Civil War. And they said, well, this is what happened and blah, blah, blah. But they didn't cover, it was just what they wanted the students to hear. They didn't want to talk about the reasoning behind the Civil War and all that. When I learned history, I learned that there was more than just slavery that caused the Civil War. But over time, it has become nothing but slavery. That's all it was. That's all the Civil War was over, was slavery. That's not true. It was a part of it, a big part of it, but it wasn't just that. So that's just an example.
Right,
I'm
right.
just taking a piece out of it. And I've noticed over time, even back when my son was in school, I started seeing this, like, reinventing history. And the books seem to be trying to reinvent history, and I worry about our kids not getting the truth. You know, the whole truth. They're getting just pieces of it that the writer of the history book wants you to hear. And that's what I'm concerned about.
I agree.
And I'm making this speculation strictly on my knowledge of history books for the past, I'll just go back 15 years, but it could be even further back. And that's my concern. I don't know if there's any way to alleviate that concern, but I think our kids are missing a big portion of their education by all this social engineering and what I call social engineering and indoctrination. It's a certain way to think about our history in this nation. And I think it's become a problem, pretty evident in our world, in our United States, that we've been taught, the younger bunch of kids have been taught some bad stuff. There's no patriotism left in this country because of a lot of this stuff. I may be over-exaggerating the point, but it all goes back to what they're learning,
But I
or
think-
not learning.
I think, I feel good about our teachers here, that.
Well, I understand
they're-
that, I'm not
I know-
criticizing.
No, I know
you.
what you're saying, it's like, gee, it's like adding 200 pages to the social studies mean, you know, and that's hard to swallow, but I get it, that's, so I
don't know if we'll ever get
I
there.
don't know
My
either,
concern.
right? Okay, so we need to amend this to McGraw-Hill.
Yes.
So we need a motion to amend action item F for approval of McGraw-Hill for social studies
Okay, Madam,
textbooks.
okay, Madam President, I make a motion, we amend this one, consider approval of the problem, and that one is there to make it McGraw-Hill
I second that.
for our social staff.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend action item F to approval of McGraw-Hill for social studies textbooks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so we've amended item F to McGraw-Hill for social studies textbooks, right? And we just need a motion to approve or not to approve McGraw-Hill for social studies textbooks.
Madam President, I make a motion, we approve McGraw-Hill for social studies.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve McGraw-Hill for social studies textbooks. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Did you say one aye?
Aye, sorry.
All opposed?
I abstain.
Okay, ayes have it. McGraw-Hill for social studies textbooks have been approved. Moving to item G, consideration approval of school year 23-24 bus contracts.
Madam President, members of the board, I think you have in your packet the two contracts that we have for our contractors, which is the one for Gene Martinez and then the one for O&O Shirley Carter. I recommend that you approve both contracts.
Are they similar to what they were?
I couldn't tell you, she's the one that worked on them, I think there's big increases to certain things and so forth, so, but more or less, yes, with whatever raises they give, whatever, for allowances for leasing and so forth. Cause the routes haven't really changed, we thought we were gonna have to cancel one route, but it wasn't even one of theirs. There's our bus 22, because we didn't have kids coming out from the lake area, but those two kids, one of them will start school this year, and then the other one is transferring from Des Moines back to Clayton, so we will end up having to keep 22 also, but that's our route, our school route, so we pay them.
Madam President, I move that we approve the school year 23-24 bus contract.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the school year 23-24 bus contracts. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The school year 23-24 bus contracts have been approved. Can we just sign these right here? Can we sign these?
I have two here, Rich, unless you want to just,
Okay.
okay, we'll get them afterwards.
All right, consideration approval of amending superintendent's contract.
Madam President, members of the board, just for the record, I find having to have this discussion kind of weird in my sense of it and so forth, but I did include in your board packet, the language for House Bill General Appropriations Act of 2023, where it basically tells what the rate increases are. It says public school employees would receive a salary increase of 5% and a minimum salary for EAs and so forth. And the minimum salary would be 25,000. House bill also provides a 1% education pension contribution increase provided, to state employees and so forth. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing that shows that, is the salary assurances that were signed when we did the budget. Let me find it. It has the language, let me just find where it's at. Okay, so it says law 2023, chapter 210 and little 4.6, House Bill 2, provide a 6% salary raise to all public school personnel. And this came about because we had a superintendent meeting at the law conference when we were there, and all of the superintendents brought it up, that it was mandated by the state that all, including superintendents, all school personnel would receive a 6% raise. And so that's why I bring it to you guys.
So then if we did this, since we already gave the 4%, would we just do a 2%?
2%, well, one of them,
Is that what most people?
one of them, there's a 1% in there that's supposed to be allocated to everybody anyway for that contribution to,
So, but it was 5% plus the 1%.
Plus the 1%,
For
yes.
basically cost of living.
yes,
Right?
yes,
Isn't that what it was?
yes, something like that.
So to equal 6%.
6%,
for
yes.
everyone.
So we're just basically voting to amend his contract to bring him up to 6%.
So we would,
Yes.
Right?
That's
yes,
right, right?
but not adding 6%.
No, it'd be
Adding 2%
2% to make it 6%, just like everybody else.
Yes.
So then do we need to word it as adding 2% to the 4%?
That was already,
That was
yeah.
given to the new contract?
Yes.
Okay. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
We had talked about that though, didn't we?
Right.
Before?
Yeah. I move that we approve the amended superintendent's contract as stated in the discussion.
Second condition.
So you want me to restate what I said? Thanks a lot. Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve amending Superintendent Municipal contract, adding 2% to the renewed 4% that was given back in January, right? In January?
I think it was, I don't know, yeah, there was one.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah, because that's what.
And you,
That's what.
Bringing the number to 6%,
Okay, to equal,
as mandated by,
as mandated by House Bill 2,
yeah, mandated by House Bill 2023?
House Bill 2,
2?
yeah, House Bill 2,
Of
2023.
okay, to approve amending Superintendent Maestas' contract, adding 2% to the renewed 4% in the January contract to equal the state mandated House Bill 2, 6% increase.
Right.
I'm not saying that again. Do I need to say that again?
I got all the way to the 4% in the January contract.
To equal the state mandated.
There we go.
House Bill 2, 6%. Okay.
Great.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Great.
good job.
Okay, I'm not repeating
You
it.
did really good.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving to items suggested for future meetings. Maybe, someone will have some information on what they
Drug policy.
find in other, school districts' policies, right? I will try to, on the
And I'm not sure what else we have.
Okay, and then, of course, if you guys think of something, you can call me, you can send me an email, okay,
Or be,
or,
Madam President, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. Any discussion needed? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.